Cloud. We are recording. Good afternoon. My name is Julie Seedorf. We're here at the Pink Percolator, and I want to welcome you today for chat, fun, coffee. We're talking about books. If you see my background, I have a new background, and you're teaching an old dog new tricks with all of this Zoom stuff. And so I don't quite have the background the way I want it, but eventually I will. But you see the teapot back there, the Pink Percolator is in my Fuchsia, Minnesota books, and Delight Delore owns the Pink Percolator, and it's kind of a silly place. Whipped cream comes out of the teapot and the fountain outside, and I thought, what a perfect thing to name my chat show, because we just want to have fun. Now, the other person you see on the screen, I'm so excited to have her, is award-winning author Abby Vandiver. And I have to tell you, we've been friends for a long time, but this is the first time we've met face-to-face, screen-to-screen. And so we're going to have coffee, we're going to chat, and I'm really sorry we're not live, so you could ask questions, but eventually, that's my goal. And then I will have Abby back, but you can always underneath ask questions, and I'm sure she'll come back on later and answer any if you have any. So Abby, welcome. Did you bring a coffee cup today by any chance?
I brought cranberry juice.
Oh, I love cranberry juice. Is there anything special about your cup?
Well, it's the one, I've thought about that. It's the one I always use. I like really big cups because I love ice. I fill it all the way up with ice first. Even when I'm out at a restaurant, I tell them, fill it up with ice first and then put the drink. But the thing about me is juice is too sweet for me. Yes. So I fill it up with ice. Then I fill it up 3/4 of the way with water, and I pour the juice in. So everyone that knows me says that I just drink colored water.
You make your own drink.
I make my own drink. And I'm trying, as I get older, I'm trying to change my habits. I used to be a Pepsi addict, and that's all I drank. So now I've gone to water. Every now and then I have juice. And recently I started drinking green tea. But I drank green tea earlier. I should have saved it for this. And I saw on a Hallmark movie, these cups, they were having hot chocolate in it. They have very wide brims, big, nice cups, painted. I guess some of them are porcelain. So I'm going to get me one of those. And so next time I'm on, Julie, I'm going to have one of those cups, one of those big cups, and maybe some green tea or some hot chocolate, according to when you invite me back. So,
well, we'll just have to have you back sooner. I hope, this program takes off. I've got my Serenity cup. Let's see, I've got my background. Serenity cup today. And on the back, it says, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking this world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. So I just thought that was kind of a nice cup to start the day. I have to ask you, before we talk about books, so do you drink flavored water? Do you buy that flavored water in the bottles?
No, that's too sweet. The whole idea of me mixing water is that the juice is too sweet for me. So I just dilute it, really. And it still tastes like juice to me. It just doesn't taste as sweet. But I can never buy those flavored waters.
Yeah, I've tried them. They're not my favorite. I like water, though.
I love water. I like
bottled water, but not.
I'm happy with water out of the sink. We have a dispenser on the refrigerator. I'll get it there. But I'll also just run tap water. Is fine with me. And if I'm in a restaurant, I love lemon in my water. Yes. I will drink that and drink that. So, and I'm not a sugar person. One waiter said, "Are you going to make lemonade out of that?" I go, "No," just because I told him to bring me a lot of lemon. I said, "No, I just love lemon and water." So,
you say that, it's really funny because I recently got one of these little things of elderberry syrup, and you're supposed to put a dropper full in your tea or water. And I don't drink a lot of tea, and I didn't want to put it in my coffee, and I tried it in my water, and it was like, oh. So you know what I did? I took a glass and put a little bit of pink lemonade in it. And then I poured some Aloha liquor in it that's got a little coconut, just a little, and then I put my dab of elderberry syrup. And do you suppose because it's got the liquor and the lemonade, it kind of, negates the health properties?
You defeated the whole thing. Elderberry is supposed to be like this super antioxidant and so good for you. Here you go, making a cocktail out of it. I'm not quite sure how that'll work.
Yeah, well, I'll have to try the elderberry gummies. So let's talk about your books first, though. I live in Minnesota, and Abby, I actually don't know where you live. There's so much about Abby I don't know.
Right. And it's so weird because, as you say, we were friends on Facebook forever, retweeting about each other's books, saying hello. And so it was so weird. I felt like I know you. I felt like I know you. And then when I saw your new Instagram series, I thought, so happy, my heart warmed for you that you were starting it. And I was like, I know Julie, I'm going to say hello. So, but it's weird. We don't. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. So not as cold as in Minnesota, but we, get some cold weather here. It's a little snow outside right now. But I'm a proud Ohioan.
I have another friend, a good friend. She's a reader. She's a Facebook friend, and she lives not too far from you in Ohio, actually. And her husband recently died. So we've been keeping in pretty close contact. My readers, and I imagine that's the way with you too. A lot of them become my friends. Does that happen to you?
Yes. Yes. Especially when they're local, because I hang out at the local library and they come up there. Call me Abby. Abby is a pen name, but everyone that knows me from writing calls me Abby. So it's like really weird if family is around, and I see them or whatever. But yes, they do. We become friends.
So what's your real name? You don't have to, you can tell me in secret. How's that?
Okay, don't tell anyone else. But it's inside my books anyway. It's Chandra. Chandra is my name.
Oh, I love that name. That name. So how did you come up with Abby for a pen name?
I don't know. My grandson.
You have more than one pen name, right?
Yeah, now I have 3 pen names. My grandson says it's because I used to watch NCIS all the time, around the time that I came up with the pen name, Abby Schrodo. Yeah, so, but Vandiver is actually my maiden name. And I also, my new books are under Abby Collette, and Collette is actually my real middle name. So I've written, and I actually have written a book under my married name. It was self-published. I wrote with a friend. So we used her first name and my last name. So I've used all of my real names somehow in there. I don't know how I came up with Abby. I think too, I thought about people have all my life had a hard time pronouncing all of my names. And I thought, well, Abby is something easy to remember, easy for people to pronounce. So
I love that. So tell me about your books. Tell us about your first start with your old series and move us forward. I haven't read your new book. I want to read your new book. I looked it up today. Your new book is, and I had it here. I had your life in front of my hands.
Oh, it's right there. It's right there. A Daily Insight Scoop.
I can't see it. It's
here you go. Daily Insight Scoop. And that one's written under Abby Collette.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yes.
Well, I'm a hybrid author. But I started out self-publishing. I was very sick. I used to be a economics professor at college, and I used to be a lawyer. And I got really sick, and I was nearly bedridden. And it took them about 4 years to figure out what was wrong with me. So the entire time I had nothing to do. So who would think I'd write a book? So I started writing books, and I thought, wow, this is cool. I like this. It's fun. I could do it on my own schedule. And the first book I wrote was a kind of Dan Brownish, find the secret that changes the history of the world kind of book. I love mysteries. And I didn't know, Julie, the first thing about writing. People commented. They were like,
we have that in common. You know, that's interesting that you said that, because I didn't know that about you. That's how I got writing. I was really, really sick too.
oh yeah.
And I started writing on my blog this silly story, which turned out to be Granny Hook's a Crook, but it got me up and going. So I love to hear that. Keep on going. Keep going now.
Okay, so yep. So I started writing while I was sick, and I wrote that first book. I just had that idea. I don't know. It's just an alternative history kind of book. It's about family and it's about archaeology, which I love. And people commented before I even put it up. HarperCollins had this place back then. It was called Autonomy, I think it was. And you could post your book and have people comment on it to help you, better your craft and see where you were going. And people would say, well, you can't show. You can't tell. You have to show, and you can't do this and you can't do. And I thought, who knew there were rules to writing? So I decided I kind of learn the rules. I wrote 3 books in that series, and it wasn't. I didn't do violence. I didn't do sex. I didn't do swearing in it. And people were like, yeah, it's a little tame to be a Dan Brown kind of book. There wasn't peril around every corner. And I thought, well, I love doing this, and maybe I can just find a way to do this and I don't have to kill everybody. And I came up on Cozy Mysteries. I only have to kill one person, and I can kill them off stage, but I can plop them down in this quaint community where, except for the murders, people will want to live. It's a happy place, a good time, small town, great neighbors. And that's how I started writing cozies. So I wrote my first cozy. It's called Bed and Breakfast Bedlam. And that series actually ended up having 6 books. But you know how it goes, Julie. We have to promote our books. Even though I was selling for 99 cents and $2.99, you still have to get your book out there. And I went to do a promotion because I was trying to build up my email subscriber list. And someone told me, go to Henry Press. They will put you in their promotion if they accept you for a fee. And at the end of it, they'll give you everyone's email address, that signed up. And I thought, and someone said, I got over 3,000 names from them, email addresses. And I thought, oh, I could build up my list. And when I got to them, for some reason, they didn't read the book, but I guess they read a sample or part of it. And they wrote me back and said, we'd like to publish your books. So that got me started then being traditionally published. So I went from not even thinking about that. I never thought about that. Just happy being self-published to being traditionally published. And before that book came out, an agent actually contacted me, which I didn't believe it was a real agent, because who does that? And I remember going to my librarian and she said, you should check it out. And I was like, no, people just send emails, and they don't mean it. Well, it was a real agent. And now she's my agent. And then she got me the deal with Penguin. So I have two Cozy Mystery series with Penguin. One they just announced like Friday or Monday or something for the second book deal. And then Lake Union, which is an imprint of Amazon, I'm going to do a women's fiction, which is completely different. And so I'm very nervous about that.
You'll be fine. That's so exciting. Our journeys are so much the same, except with an agent. And, I've never tried for an agent ever.
Yeah, I never tried either. That's why I didn't believe it. I hadn't even thought of doing that. I didn't think, Julie, you see all these people, they have their MFAs, they went to college for writing, they know what it's all about. And those were the kind of people I was thinking, to get book deals. It's like, you hear people say, I knew that I wanted to be a writer since I was 6 years old, not me. So I thought that's not a path for me, because it hadn't been a life goal or mission or anything for me.
I don't know if you're a believer in God, but I would say for me, my grandma and God is what got me published. And I hear your story, and it's kind of the same way the universe took over for you, and you're probably right where you're supposed to be.
I think so. I've never been happier with a job. I loved being a lawyer. I loved being a college professor, but it was always, that's how I got to be a lawyer. I got a bachelor's degree and then I thought I need to do something more. So I went and got a master's degree and I thought I need to do something more. It was always, I felt like I needed to do something more or something different. And since I've been writing, I haven't felt like that. I felt like the only more and different is maybe I could write a story like this, or I could do, a different kind of genre, or I could do that. Those are the only difference and more. But it's still all that I'd like to do. So you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I believe in God, and He puts you where you need to be, even if you fight along the way, So.
Well, and that's true, and I don't know. My grandma died when I was 6 years old, but yet lately I just feel her presence. My granny looks like her, and that was an accident, total accident. I had no input in that. So tell me about your book covers. Who designs your book covers? Do you have any input in your book covers?
Well, all of my book covers for my self-published books, and there's probably 20 or more, I did myself. I do all my book covers. And then when I got traditionally published, of course, they would do them. Now, when I was with the first publishing company, they told me I was going to have all this cover love, and you'll hear traditionally published authors say this, and you don't really get a lot of input. And they kind of came up with what they wanted, and that was it. I didn't like them. I thought it was more romancy than cozy mystery.
Yeah.
It didn't have, cozy mysteries usually have an animal on the front, a cat or a dog. And they were just didn't look like it to me. But a lot of people liked them. A lot of people thought they were pretty. And then when I went to Penguin, I thought I really won't have any say over this. But they were super nice, super engaging. What do you think about this, Abby? Do you like this? How can we tweak it? Should we tweak it? But I loved what they did. I think I have the greatest cover. Everybody's always excited about that ice cream cone with the little skeleton, face.
Yeah, and pink's my favorite color, so I absolutely love that.
And then the new book that's coming out is called A Game of Cones. The same artist did that cover, and I love it too. It's two cones smacking heads, and so I'm very happy about them. And I just got a note from my editor saying for the new series that's coming out, that they were, starting to discuss cover ideas and wanted my input. So that makes you feel good. Even if they come up with something completely different than what I suggested, it feels good for them to say, what do you think, Abby? So I like that.
So I have a question. Let's be honest. And, I've read a couple of your books, and I loved what I read, and I'm anxious to read these new ones. But as an author myself, when you're getting towards the end of a series, have you ever been tempted? And in the cozy world, it's a big no, but I'm kind of one of those people who kind of decided I'm doing my own thing. Have you ever wanted to end it by killing your main character?
You really like to color outside the lines, huh? Because that's way out there.
I just, I have to think more authors think like that.
No, Julie, they don't. Baby,
she's dead.
Dark mystery, not just cozy. I never ever.
That's your one death in the book, and then somebody else takes over. Actually, I kind of want to do that with Granny, because I really want the series to go on with her granddaughter Angel. But I think they would just run me out of fuchsia if I did that. But
unless you could bring her back as a ghost, maybe turn into a paranormal series. I don't know. But no, I've never even considered that. It never crossed my mind.
Next time I read your book, there it'll go. So what is the most evil thought you've had about a storyline in any of your books, past the cozy?
I guess the most evil in the cozy is thinking about people who, and I'm sure lots of people do this, who have made me angry, and I just want to put them in my book and kill them.
Do you get asked that a lot? Because I get asked that a lot.
No, I once went to a library advisory event, and I was a speaker, and I told them that, I always say in my books that I kill people. People say, what do you do? I kill people. So, I was making that comment or whatever. And, I looked out to the faces of all the librarians and I go, but never a librarian. I've never killed a librarian because I love librarians. And afterwards,
I wouldn't kill them either. They're our bread and butter, so we better.
Yeah, right. You can't kill them. So when I went out for the book signing, a group of librarians from Massillon Library came to me and said, "We want you to kill us." I said, "What?" They go, "Yes, you put us in your book and you kill us." And they all wrote down their names for me. And one, her name was Summer. She said, "I want to be killed by ice." So I actually wrote that story, and I've been trying to publish it, but I think I'm going to have to self-publish it because I put in a couple anthologies, submitted it, and it didn't get picked. So I am going to, I think, self-publish a collection of short story, cozy mysteries, and I'm going to put that in there. So I actually did kill someone who asked me to kill them. But
maybe we should do that together. We should publish a couple of short
that'd be
stories
awesome.
or write a mystery together and see what we could come up with, and I'll kill
that would be awesome.
character and you.
Just as long as you don't kill my main character off, I'm good.
I actually had a step grandson for a while, and he loves my books. And he did say to me, and why do you have to kill someone? And it's like, well, and I think
it's what we do. It's what we do.
Yeah, it's kind of second nature. And of course now, I've often wondered if I could write, I like to read more thrillers too. And I've often wondered if I could do that. But in my last book, I started my last book with because I write by the seat of my pants, with a kind of gory scene. And then as I was writing, I actually took it out and rewrote it because I thought, oh, I can't do that. So I often wonder about authors that, they're the nicest people ever, and they come up with the goriest books. And
I know.
I wonder if that's in me somewhere. Do you ever wonder that?
I think that I found that out. So first, though, I want to say, so you should go ahead and try it. Just write you a book like that and see how it goes. But when I did my women's fiction book, I emailed my agent, and I told her, and I thought she was going to knock it down, and it's really what I wanted her to do. So I thought, because I kept having it in my mind, I want to write something different than cozy mysteries. And I go, but I don't know that I can. And I go, I know, I'll tell my agent. She'll say, no, Abby, you can't do that. And then it'll get out of my head. But when I emailed her, she said, sure. And so I sent her a proposal. And of course, people were dying all in it. People got killed. And she wrote me back. She said, can you stop killing people? She said, just write a book without any murder. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know that I can do that. So I actually had to concentrate. After she told me that, I just couldn't sit down right away in front of the computer to do it. I had to think, how do you write a story where there's no murder, And it took me a couple of weeks to actually get it together and say, okay, I can do this. So my advice to anyone who's thinking about that, try a different genre. It doesn't mean, you can always self-publish it. If you're a traditional writer and your agent can't sell it. And if you're a self-published author, anyway, all the ropes, just write your story. Because as writers, Julie, we are, always have stories and things going on in our head. We hear a conversation at the dinner table behind us when we're in a restaurant, and we think, oh, that would make a great book, so we're just the creative kind. Can't help it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and my mind is just, and a lot of mine is for writing on my blog too. On my blogs, do the more serious things. I always have an opinion about something, and every day I wake up and say, okay, mind still, I am not going to do this. And yet, it just keeps on going. I have a serious book I'm writing too. I've been writing it for 4 years. It's actually taking, moving forward and things like that. I just had a question I was going to ask you, and then, I'm old. It kind of goes out of my mind because I suppose this is getting a little long, so we'll have to take this up another time. But oh, and it was such a good question. So you've kind of told us your plans for the future. What's your writing schedule? How do you write? Are you a pan? That's it. Are you a pantser, or are you do the dreaded outline that I just how
I'm
do you write?
definitely a pantser. I write by the seat of my pants. I never know where it's going. I don't even name my chapters. I don't name chapters, but I number them. I write chapter 1. I write that chapter, and all the other chapters are chapter next, because I never know what order they're going to go in. It's whatever came into my mind, while I was writing, I write that chapter next. And sometimes in the middle of writing a chapter, I think about something, and I'll start a new page and put chapter next and write down my thoughts. And eventually, I'll have to move everything around and put it in order. But for me to write, I can write a book in about 3 weeks. And for me to get started writing, because, the formula, Julie, for cozy is all the same. There's a murder. The amateur sleuth has a reason to try to solve the murder. They go about solving it and they find the killer. So I don't have to think about those kinds of things, because, I know how it's going to do. I just need the victim's name, the killer's name, the way that the person was killed, the name of 5 suspects. Even if I don't use all 5, or I end up with more than 5, I always start out with 5, and the reason why they were killed. If I have those 5 things, I'm good to go. I just start writing. And then sort of, my character takes over. My
Yeah,
characters,
yeah.
yeah, they have their own personality. They know what would happen. I just plop them down somewhere and let them go. So
Yeah, we write a lot the same. You mentioned, and just we'll do 2 more questions, and then we're gonna probably should wrap up. But you mentioned that you are a big NCIS fan, and so am I. But I'm also a CSI and a Special Victims Unit, and I have watched. I went on a binge, and I watched every season of CSI from start to finish when it was ending. So I think it was like 17 seasons, 16 seasons in the last month and a half. Do you know, and you probably, did you ever get some great ideas from NCIS? Because, man, I love the poisons, and I would have loved to be a CSI. I think if I went back, and if I was born again, and, went through this time, I think I'd go to school to be a CSI, except I'm no good at science and math. But it's like, oh, I got to write that poison down, or I've got to write this down. Did you have you ever had that happen when you're watching them?
I don't know, but I did do a character who was sort of a forensic person that looked at forensic things. So I think it's somewhere in me. I may have watched 2 or 3 CIS shows. I never was fond of those. I don't think. But I watched NCIS all the time. I loved that show. But I probably binged it. I didn't watch it weekly. It was probably came on Netflix or something, and so I could binge watch. That's what I like to do. So
Like,
yes, and
yeah,
I'm a scientific person. Before I became a lawyer, and an economics professor, my whole background was science. I loved science. I always thought as I was coming up, I was going to be a scientist. So I'm very much into that, and I'm into archaeology and finding out things. So it does come naturally for me, those sorts of things. But I'm a Hallmark kind of girl, and I'm a not a Murder She Wrote, like Acorn Channel. I kind of like
yeah,
those things.
yeah. Okay, I guess we have to wrap this up, and
Oh,
stick
I've had so
around,
much fun.
because you and I can chat
Yeah.
afterwards. So we wrap this up after I turn the record button off, if I can find it. But how about the today, not your final? How about leaving us with some words of wisdom? Abby's words of wisdom, or words of wisdom from one of your characters.
Oh, I have great, my characters, Auntie Zane and Miss Vivi, they have great words of wisdom. But I like to talk about writing for people out there that's writing. I teach a lot of writing classes, and so many people are not afraid, but reluctant and hesitant to write because they don't feel that they're good enough. So I just want to say to anyone out there who's thinking about writing a book, you've been mulling over writing a book, don't hesitate because you don't think you're good enough or it won't be perfect. None of us are perfect, but you won't know until you try. And so I say to everyone, if you got a book in you, go ahead and write it, you know, so just give it a try. It's a great thing. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, it's something that'll always be around in a memory of you. So
Wonderful words of wisdom. I'd like to thank author Abby Vandiver for being here with me today. I will, when I publish this, which will be in a few days, I will put links for her under the video. Plus, I'm going to read one of her books really shortly, hopefully the new one, and then I will also put the book review on the Pink Percolator's site. So the pinkpercolator.com on YouTube and on a website, you'll see things there. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with someone new. And Abby, this has been a pleasure. Bye.
thank you. Bye.